Rockline with Def Leppard.
Live via satellite from the entertainment capital of the world. AM/FM Radio Networks present North America's #1 rock radio program. Rockline. Rockline. Rockline is brought to you by the United States Army. Be all you can be. Tonight, Rockline brings you a special evening of music and your phone calls for Def Leppard. To speak with Def Leppard, call the toll-free Rockline at 1-800-344-ROCK. That's 1-800-344-7625. And now, Rockline's very own Def host, Mr. Bob Coburn.
What? Somebody say something to me? Huh? How's everybody doing tonight? You know, with the release of their 9th CD, Euphoria, Def Leppard have reassumed their position of one of rock and roll's finest bands. And tonight on Rockline, we welcome vocalist Joe Elliot. Nice to see you.
Good evening, Bob.
Nice to have you here. Rick Savage, the bass player. Sav, how are you tonight?
Great to be here.
Vivian Campbell on guitar. Viv, welcome to Rockline.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you all again. Cheers. So you shot a video yesterday, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
Yesterday and
today.
And we went into the early hours of this morning.
Oh,
as videos normally do.
As they go, yeah. What song were you shooting, Sav?
For what's going to be the new single. I'm not quite sure when it's going to be released, but it's For Goodbye.
And that's one of yours, isn't it?
As it happens, yes. Yes, one of my little babies.
And we'll try to play that in a few minutes for you.
It should have been called Hurry Up and Wait. That's what the video was on. That was the concept of the video. We turned up at 4 o'clock and they started shooting us at 10:15, 10:30.
Anytime you get involved with television, video, filmmaking, anything along that line, it's hurry up and wait. It's just the old military adage.
It did look great. I must say, I think it's going to be a winner.
Where did you shoot this video?
Just down the road from here, actually. We were in the CBS studios just off Ventura.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Was the weather a factor, or were you indoors?
We were inside. But everyone took a break to go outside and watch it. that's LA for you. Ooh, it's going to rain. Oh, that's no shit, you know.
Really, it hasn't rained in 6 months here.
Yeah,
you know?
we were selling it was pretty steamy down there because there was no air conditioning because the whole set is basically based around a subway setting.
That was just Joe driving a girl.
Well, yeah, could have been. There you go. Yeah.
It's that lead vocalist thing, you know.
You know, somebody that's listening to Rockline in Canada or someplace else may not realize that it's been about 105 degrees and about 90% humidity and these horrendous thunderstorms that have been ravaging the canyons and little communities and things like that. So
I hear Kansas thinking, like, we care.
Hey, we cared when they had bad weather.
Sure.
Yeah, we cared for them, man. Do you guys enjoy shooting the videos? Is this a fun process for you, or is it just hurry up and wait?
Do you want us to be honest?
Yeah, I want you to be
hate
honest.
it. It's a real occupational hazard as far as we're concerned, you know. Obviously, we realise it's got to be good, and you have to go through the process, but we certainly didn't form a rock band with the view to doing videos, because it's very boring and it's not a natural thing for us. You know, our natural thing is getting out live on stage or creating records in a studio.
Now, when the band formed, were videos really even in the forefront of rock and roll? They weren't.
Not really. I mean, they say the first real video was Bohemian Rhapsody, which would be in '75. And then, you know, there was a few little what looked like videos, but they weren't really. They were shot onto, you know, they were shot on videotape. They weren't necessarily concepts or anything. No, it was. We grew up in the medium of like Top of the Pops, where a band actually turned up and mimed in front of the cameras, and it wasn't so much a video that was. They sent a tape. The band would actually turn up and be there.
The old lip sync routine, yeah.
Yeah, I think video started really taking off after Queen did Bohemian Rhapsody, but I'd say in Britain at least, I don't know about the States, but in Britain, 78, 79, we kind of started getting used to them a little bit.
The LA Kings here had me ask an artist for a video that they wanted to play during period breaks and everything, and I went to her and asked for it, and she said, there isn't one. You know, there weren't no videos when that song came out, you know. Sorry,
yeah, right.
I can't give you what I don't have, you know.
Right.
I got to watch you guys rehearse Saturday, and I was...
Poor man.
You didn't seem that happy,
I tell
Sam.
you're looking good for it.
You picked the wrong day, Bob.
No worse for the wear, huh? You guys sounded good to me, so if you can fool me, and I've been around the block a couple of times, you're going to be fine when you go out.
You're a good yardstick, I'll give you that much.
Yeah. Thanks.
No, it was a relatively decent rehearsal considering the you know, circumstances around it. I'd been at the House of Blues the night before and got home extremely late. So I let the side down a bit that afternoon. But it was still good. These guys sounded good.
Yeah, they sounded great, and I couldn't hear your mic without headphones, so you sounded great to me too.
Yeah, there you go. That's why you gave the headphones to your friend.
That's right. Yeah, so here, Rich, you take the headphones for a while. Yeah.
Now we've got it down. You know, I mean, in fairness, it was a bit loose on Saturday, and he could afford to be because we've pretty much got it done now. You know, the gear's getting stripped down. We've got a couple of days rehearsals left on what we call the B rig, because the A rig's on its way to Cadott, Wisconsin for next Friday night's first gig of the tour. So, you know, we pretty much got it nailed.
Well, my timing was good. You had been out late the night before, and the soccer match was on.
Yeah.
And I watched that, and then got in the car and drove on
And
down.
you saw you saw the sports bra.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
you better believe it. Yeah. Before we play the first song, Promises, real quick story. When Brandy Chastain threw off the jersey and started, whipping it around her head and everything, she called it a moment of momentary insanity. Nike called it marketing brilliance.
Yeah.
They said it was a sports bra that was a prototype and wasn't in the stores, but it will be in the stores in 2 weeks at $40 a pop. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
50 if you're in Canada.
It's not guaranteed to make you score from penalties, though.
No.
Hey, they did
Gotta
well,
work
though,
on
in
that.
fairness to them. They did well.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Let's listen to Promises by Def Leppard from the brand new CD Euphoria on Rockline. From the brand new album Euphoria by Def Leppard, Promises, the name of that song. We got Joe and Sav and Viv with us tonight from the band. And if you'd like to talk with them, just call us toll-free at 1-800-344-ROCK. That's the number for Rockline, 1-800-344-7625.
Ohio's best rock.
Rockline and Bob Coburn is
QFM
meeting with
96.
Def Leppard with Joe Elliot, Rick Savage, and Vivian Campbell. If you'd like a 99 Rockline calendar, just send a postcard with your name, address, the station you listen to Rockline on, and mail it to P.O. Box 4383, Hollywood, California, 90078. Let's hit the phones, guys, from Toledo, Ohio. We have Henry on the line. Hi, Henry. How are you?
Hello.
Hey, Henry.
Hey, I was wondering, what was the funniest thing that happened to you guys on stage?
The funniest thing that happened to us on stage. Well, we've been touring now for the better part of 20 years. A lot of things can happen in that time. I remember this is Sav speaking, by the way. I remember personally falling off stage in Australia, in Sydney, Australia.
Oh, no, that's a laugh.
It is for everybody else. Like, it wasn't for him. 15,000 people had a really good hoot over
Come
there.
on, I do that at least once every
Well,
year.
that's, yeah.
Widdly up.
So after a while, the falling off stage business, that's not all that unusual anymore.
We had a girl jump up on stage, remember? She just threw her legs around me and did the old thing, and everything fell out of her shirt because she was hanging upside down. And all the cameras were on her because one of those, like, Blockbuster pavilions where there's big screens inside the PA, so there's this girl with all her top up. She wasn't wearing the sports bra.
There you go.
That was quite
Is this the
funny.
theme for the evening? Sports bra?
Sports bra, yeah. We have a
wacko?
theme going here, yeah.
Well, yeah. Now I've just been thinking about one of the funniest things. I think we were playing a gig in France back in 1988 on the Hysteria tour, and the Michael Schenker group was supporting us. And he's been a dear friend for many years, and he's a great guitar player. I did have a problem with alcohol from time to time. And after we were playing we were actually doing the track Hysteria, when Michael just walked on stage in I don't know what
pair of underpants.
Well, I was going to say Y front. I don't know if Americans really know what that. Oh yeah, a pair of underpants.
Underwear.
Didn't know where he was and would
a
not
sports
leave.
bra.
Yeah, he was looking for the sports bra.
I think he's looking for the sports bar.
Yeah.
Sam kicks him up the arse. And that was the funniest.
And of course, when he found you guys, he found it immediately. Yeah, it's right behind the
He kicked him
Marshall
up
lamps.
He kicked him up his ass right in the middle of the stage.
You really?
It was funny.
Henry, good call. Thanks.
Thanks,
Let's head
Henry.
to Austin, Texas. We'll speak with Sandy. Sandy, you're on Rockline with Def Leppard.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Oh, yeah.
I've read many articles over the years about the band's original inspiration and songwriting being with glam rock bands like Mott the Hoople, Gary Glitter, and David Bowie. With such longevity in the music business, do you look to those classics today, or do you have any new music inspirations?
They were just part of it, you know. I mean, it gets watered down because you do so many interviews that sometimes you just stock answer things, and it goes a lot further than Gary Glitter was never really that big an influence on the band, other than the way that the drums were so large. But and Mott the Hoople was more specific to me than us as a band. I think generally the inspiration for this group collectively was like Thin Lizzy, Queen, Zeppelin.
I think the great thing was we all had very definite influences as individuals that came together, and from all that concoction of people like the bands that Joe's mentioned and the glam rock thing thrown in, came out basically what formed our type of music. And while it's not as prominent, obviously that type of music is not as prominent today. You know, there's always room for still having that feel, but using it in a modern environment, and that's all we've ever tried to do, really.
See, the thing is with any band from Britain back when we were getting it together, or just actually forming our own musical kind of influences as kids, all we have in Britain is one top 40 station. There is no rock station. There's no KLOS. There's no this, that, the other. You know, all we've got is a top 40 station that's nationwide. And in 1972 to 1974, there was a lot of Slade, T-Rex, Sweet, Bowie, you know, Mott the Hoople.
That basically was the pop music of the time, and it just happened to be more rock oriented.
Yeah, it's guitar-based pop music, and that's what we kind of grew up on. You didn't hear Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin on the radio unless you listened to the specialist shows, which were 10 till midnight on a Friday, and you were never in. You know, I mean, it was a tough kind of environment to listen to rock music. So our rock music came a lot from pop. As for the Gary Glitter thing, the closest we've ever got to Gary Glitter is doing the kind of pastiche on the new album, Back in Your Face, which is like almost like a tip of the hat, but it almost making fun of it as well. It was the whole of 1972 to 74 squashed down into 3 minutes.
It's tongue-in-cheek, definitely, especially with a big drum sound that Rick gets out of that. Yeah. We're going to play a song now from the past called Armageddon It, and here it is for you on Rockline by Def Leppard. Armageddon at Def Leppard on Rockline. Back to the phones we go. We got Viv and Sav and Joe from the band. I'm BC, Bob Coburn, and Kansas is located in the Flint, Saginaw, Michigan area. Hi, Kansas. Welcome.
Hi. My question was, what was the most creative project you guys have ever been a part of?
Ooh, creative project, huh?
Jeez. That's tough. Well, everything we've ever done's creative.
I just created a baby. That was pretty creative.
But we didn't have much to do with that, Viv.
No, well, you didn't.
It was a solo project.
Unless it's confessional times.
I tell you what, he did it quicker than he took us to make Hysteria, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, everything we do is creative. It's subjective, obviously, opinion-wise, as to which is the most creative. Some people will think it's the new album. Some people will say it's Hysteria. There'll be even some Whale fans will say On Through the Night is the best thing we've ever done, you know. So it's really difficult to say what's the most creative thing we've ever done.
I think that because it is so hard to answer, it's purely because whenever we do anything, especially making records, we try and achieve a certain level of in every aspect of making a record. When we're actually doing it, so to us everything is of a certain level, a certain standard. So it's a little. That's why it's a hard one to answer, and it's a great question. But it's, you know, without copying out, it's like everything we do, we try and treat with the same respect.
Vivian, you've been in many bands. You've been in Whitesnake and Shadow King with Lou Gramm and others. Does the Def Leppard creative process vary greatly from other bands?
Oh, yes. Don't get me started.
Vivian's favorite subject.
How long is this show?
We got plenty of time. You just go for it. We'll adjust to you. How's that?
No, it's different, that's for sure. I mean, well, let me put it this way. Most bands, you know, get together and they get in a rehearsal studio or a room or something, and somebody has an idea for a song, and you kick it around and, you know, say, okay, that'll do, and the singer goes off and writes the lyrics and you go record it. And it just doesn't happen that way with Def Leppard. For one thing, we don't sit in the room and play the stuff, you know. We all go home and individually work on bits and pieces of ideas and bring them all in, and then it's like Ginsu chef extraordinaire, you know. and so, okay, so that goes on for a couple of months, and you think finally, you know, a song's come out of it, but no, wrong. And it's back to the drawing board. Some bright spark comes in one morning and says, you know, I think this could be better. So it's like, okay, take it apart and re-record it, and just it goes through this whole metamorphosis over and over and over again, and it takes so much time, and it takes a lot of the fun out of it, I gotta say. But you know, you can't argue with the result. I mean, the end result is basically as good as it gets. you know. But it's a very frustrating experience for a musician to sit there and to do that.
Trust me, he's been in the band since '92. We've been doing this since '78, so I couldn't agree more with him. But as he says, what it is, this is like having the hangover first and then having the drink later. You know, I mean, it's a much more fun way to do it, is to suffer first and then enjoy the results of it, rather than have a great time and then the next day you're
Actually, I kind of like
it's
it
a
that
really
way, though,
crap
you know?
analogy, but it's the best I could think of on the spur of the moment.
Give me my dry mouth and my hangover now, and I'll have my fun later on.
Well, the pair of them right there are already demonstrating what it's like being in the studio.
It's a nightmare.
But the positive thing is the result comes out like this. Demolition Man. Demolition Man from Euphoria by Def Leppard will return with Joe Elliot, Rick Savage, and Vivian Campbell in just a moment. Your number's toll-free, 1-800-344-ROCK. It's Rockline.
WLVQ Columbus, CBS owned and operated, and an equal opportunity employer. QFM 96.
Welcome back to Rockline. I'm BC, Bob Coburn, and we got Viv and Sav and Joe from Def Leppard with us tonight. Your number's toll-free, 1-800-344-ROCK. This week's Encore question is brought to you by the new Encore movie channel, now with recent big hit movies and a great movie every night. Last week, Motley Crue and the Scorpions were on Rockline, and they left a question. I believe it was Klaus from Scorpions who left this question for Def Leppard.
This is Klaus of the Scorpions, and I want to know if you guys remember, in the early 80s, the Scorpions and Def Leppard played in Europe together, and after one show, you know, there was one band member who was sleeping in a bed outside the hotel, and the Scorps and Def Leppard were pouring tons of water from the 3rd or 4th or 5th floor down to this poor guy until he woke up and said, "Is this a dream? Is this a dream?" You know?
Oh, beautiful.
And I want to know, what is the name of that band member?
Remember who it
You know
was?
what? When you said that, I knew that's exactly what Klaus was going to come up with.
Seriously, you
Absolutely.
foretold the question there, Sav.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I should have interrupted earlier, but yeah, that was a very funny evening.
And the answer is
Pete Willis.
Pete Willis, who's no longer with the band. Yeah.
Well, and for obvious reasons.
In actual fact, I think Klaus has got the end of the story quite wrong, because at the time we were sharing rooms, and he was rooming with Steve Clark, and I think the first thing he actually said was, "Steve, can you close the window? It's getting bloody cold in here." And he was outside in the car park.
We'd lifted him off. We'd lifted his mattress off the bed. We'd actually lifted his mattress. There's Rudolph and Klaus, and I don't know how many of us there were. Lifted the mattress off the bed, picked him up with him still, you know, so it just formed this big V with Pete in the middle. Took it up on the roof of the hotel. He never woke up. He didn't even know.
He never woke up.
He had no clue.
The good old days of rock and roll.
Yeah.
There we go. We're going to head to Terre Haute, Indiana. And Dan, you're in Rockline.
Yeah, I was wondering who's the most famous person you ever met on tour.
Joe Elliot.
Vivian Campbell.
Viv Campbell, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Joe's my hero.
We haven't really met that many famous people. I mean, when we first broke in '83, I remember Brian May, who had previously been to see us in Europe, but he came to one gig that David Lee Roth was at as well, and Nancy Wilson from Heart. They were all at the Irvine Meadows show, I think it was.
It was an LA gig for sure. Yeah.
So we actually had Brian, David Lee Roth, and Nancy from Heart all at one gig. And Tommy Lee has been backstage once. I mean, you know, the Pope and Bill Clinton have never been to see Def Leppard.
Hey, Nelson Mandela knows who we are.
Nelson Mandela does know who we are.
That's a heavyweight there.
That is pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell them the story, Viv.
We were impressed. No, well, we were in South Africa at the end of the Slang tour, and we had this independent publicist, and she had actually worked for Nelson Mandela previously. And the day after, I think it was the day after, we'd played in Cape Town in South Africa, and Nelson Mandela was there, and he came across her in this public place, and they were talking, and she said, "Yeah, I'm here. I'm working with a band called Def Leppard." And he said, "Oh, the Leps." So from the lips of Nelson Mandela, the Leps.
From the lips to the lips. There
Yeah.
we go. That's a good story. Dan, thank you very much. Michael, it's your turn as we go to Miami, Florida on Rockline. Hi.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good, man. Good.
I saw you at Zeta Fest 2 weekends ago.
Oh, great stuff.
You guys are great.
Yeah, it was a good weekend.
It was awesome.
It's a good radio station, too.
You guys are such an inspiration to me in everything that you've accomplished, you know, through your career and everything. So I just want to throw that in there.
Thank you.
Thanks,
My
man.
question is, can money buy happiness?
Helps.
They can buy nappies.
Giving it a darn good shot, huh?
There's no doubt it helps.
You know what money is? Money is just a safety valve. That's all it is. If you get stuck in the middle of nowhere, you can buy yourself a hotel room for the night. You know, you can get yourself a cab ride out of trouble. No. We've all had money. We've all still got a bit. We've all lost some.
When you've loved and lost.
Like Frank. It definitely doesn't do you any... It can cause certain people grief. It's never caused me any grief, I've got to say. But it's once you've got some, everybody wants a piece.
Yeah, and
From the taxman to the ex-wife.
You hear the
to
stories about the lottery winners and how they change and it ruins their lives and things like that.
You see, I think the difference is when you get it overnight, literally overnight, it can be a total shock. But when you've been in a band and you've done the transit up and down the M1 for 5 years, and people say, oh, Def Leppard overnight success, by the time we got our first royalty check, we'd actually been doing it for 7.5 years. To us, it was like, well, this is just payback for the last 7.5 years.
That's a long overnight.
And it was coming in dribs and drabs. It wasn't coming in only one go. So you kind of get used to it. But it's... Yeah, I mean, hey, if you win the lottery and you don't want the money, I'll take it off you. But if you just want to keep hold of it, phone me and I'll tell you what to do so you don't go weird.
I think one great thing about it, even if you do come into any sort of money, is understanding that that certainly brings it home to you that true happiness doesn't really have anything to do with any sort of wealth whatsoever. But unfortunately, not everybody gets the opportunity to get into that position to realise it. So I mean that's one of the facts of life, I'm afraid. But I don't see the two things going hand in hand at all.
Yeah, I think it just eliminates the monetary worries that you have in life.
Yeah,
and focuses on other things.
And any financial security that you can have for your children. I think that's probably the greatest thing, which is always a great relief. But other than that, no, I mean, true happiness is a different ball game altogether.
If you just tuned in at the beginning of the show, we talked about the fact that Def Leppard shot a video yesterday for the song Goodbye. We're about to play that. And Sav, that's one of yours written from personal reference here?
Well, it started off as personal reference, I think. Yeah, I think it began as a sort of a relationship thing, and then it developed into something more. I tried to make it a little more encompassing. Not so much breaking up of relationships, but even people that die, and just trying to make it a wider ranging subject, if anything else. And basically, even with when people do die, the memory lingers on, and it was more of a song of without sounding like Robert Plant, it was a song of hope than despair. And for me, I was saying to Joe a while back on some radio show, for me it was like giving birth to an elephant, because I've lived with that song for so long, and then it went. I had this song finished 2 years ago, and then going back to what Vivian was saying, then it went through the Leppard ringer, and it's like by the time I ended up getting to mix it, it was like, I am so sick of this song.
But it survived.
It survived.
It's the most beautiful elephant I've ever seen.
We're on Rockline, and we're going to say hello now. It's Doug in Columbus, Ohio. You're on Rockline, Doug? Doug, are you there?
Doug's gone.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Hey,
you're on
Doug.
the air, Doug.
How you guys doing?
Hey, Doug.
My question is, the Hysteria album, does it have anything to do with the Libyan conflict of 1986? Because, like in that one song, it says where President Reagan said they counted on America to be passive, and they counted wrong.
Oh, on the Gods of War? No, not specifically. That song itself was just more our observations of the futility of East versus West. And at that time, in 1986, I think, when we wrote the song, there was it was pretty much well documented that there was probably like 500 missiles in America that were aimed at Russia, and they were exactly the same missiles in Russia aimed at America, just to cancel each other out. And some poor folks in Finland were just going to get the fallout for when they just hit each other in the middle.
That's the way it always works.
And it's like, the whole thing was just summed up with we're fighting for the gods of war. What the hell are we fighting for? It was just the futility of it all. And what we wanted to do was just drive home that message a little bit by using real voices. And luckily, being the the way things are with publishing, what have you, there's no problem getting speech things to sample.
There was no specific message or in any one voice either. Because it was all at the end of the song, we wanted to try and get as many different political leaders in there as well. So it wasn't specifically geared at particularly Ronald Reagan or anybody like that. We had Thatcher in there and some Russian...
Yeah, there was all sorts of people. It was just to sum up the whole thing about they all have the same thing to say, but at the opposition, you know.
For the song itself, Hysteria, Sav, was there some doubt about that song, and you played it for some friends to get some feedback? And
well, there wasn't any doubt as such, but it was one of those situations whereby we felt that we need, actually, at the stage of recording in Hysteria, we felt we needed a more rock track. And we decided to take 4 or 5 days off to try and see if anybody could come up with something. And as it happened, I was just sitting around with Phil one Saturday afternoon and actually came up with the intro to Hysteria. And the only reason we had any doubt was because it wasn't exactly what we were looking for, but we felt the song could develop into something very strong. So and Phil had an idea that fitted really perfectly onto the verse idea, as it were. And that's why we just played it around, because we thought, well, maybe we'll save it for the next album, because this is not really what we're looking for. But at the end of the day, they encouraged us to you know, basically carry on with it and play it the rest of the guys.
I think one of the all-time great Def Leppard songs, Hysteria.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, it's nice of you to say that, but, you know, we like them all.
Yeah.
It's very hard. It's very hard for us to be that objective, you know, because, you know, you go through phases where you think, you look back and go, wow, that was a great song, really proud to be part of that, and then you'll look at it in a different light or prefer something else, you know.
Next week on Rockline, Alice in Chains will join us. And remember, you can now email us your question. Just email your question to Alice in Chains, rockline@AOL.com. More with Def Leppard in just a moment on Rockline on the AM/FM network.
Rockline. Ohio's best rock. QFM 96.
And welcome back to Rockline and Bob Coburn with Def Leppard. Tonight we got Joe and Sav and Viv from the band, and we mentioned our Rockline email address, rockline@AOL.com. I got a question right now that Cece emailed us. I've been a loyal fan for over 17 years, and fans are hungry for a real fan club. I spent 2 days and nights in line to get good tickets. I'm a grandmother and too old to be having to do things like that to get a good seat. Has the band considered authorizing a fan club like Leppard United to take over as the official fan club with benefits? Are there other plans in store? Thanks, CC.
We just kind of closed down our British-based fan club thing because after 10 years of trying, it just wasn't working out. So we just basically we've kind of ruled out all paperwork or paper-based kind of fan club stuff, and we've just gone online. Which I know it sounds a little, you know, if you don't have a computer, then you're not in. But it was the only way to go, really. It was just too messy with overseas posting and all this kind of stuff. It just got a little difficult. So we have websites, which are on the back of the album sleeve, and I can't remember the call letters. Give me that sleeve quick.
I'm tossing you
it's
the sleeve. You know, the thing
DefLeppard.com or Def Leppard, you know.
Well, there's a couple of them. One of them is direct in the title.
Yeah, there's two of them,
I'll
actually.
hand that to you, and you
Thank
can
you.
work
What
on
a
that.
gentleman do. Excuse me. I'm a bit illiterate when it comes to the old internet thing. I've still got to file a fax.
Well, let me throw in a thing here. A lot of the online services are now giving you free computers just to sign up for 3 years with the online service. So
there you go.
We're getting to the point now where if you don't have a computer, it's simply by your own choice.
We are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on
Online.
www.deflepparddirect.com, the official online store. Also www.defleppard.com, which is just our regular website.
Simple enough. So there you go. To Cedar Rapids, we head now to talk with Mark. Mark, you're on Rockline.
Yeah, how's it going?
Hey guys.
All right. I think the Euphoria is a great album. A lot of energy too. I was wondering how long the group worked on it.
About 10.5 months. Vivian is such a cynical sod.
No, it's true. It's too long.
Too long.
You should have been in the band when we did Hysteria, mate.
Too longer than the pregnancy with me.
I know, yeah. Just people have babies in the time it takes you to get a record.
And in comparison to previous CDs, was this a short amount of time?
This is very quick.
Come on, tell the truth.
It was
tell the truth. Tell the public the truth.
10.5 months or so.
Thanks to Vivian's influence and input, it was actually very quick. I asked
Well, we spent like the best part of 3 years doing the Adrenalize record, and best part of 2 and change doing Hysteria. We did this. Pyromania was the first time we'd ever actually spent a long time on a record, and it's because, you know, after the 3 weeks of On Through the Night, the 3 months of Iron Dry, Mo actually challenged us to try and do something that nobody else had ever done, and that basically meant going down a lot of dead-end streets and coming back up them again because they didn't work, you know. And then we took that to an even further stage with the Hysteria record and Adrenalize. But by the time we came to doing this, you know, we'd learn basically how to do it. And as much as it may have taken 10.5 months, which is 10.5 months too long for Vivian, by our standards, it was to create a record of the size and production and everything that did go into it, and living with it, and being able to change the songs if you thought after 6 weeks or so that they weren't up to standard, and improving them, even if it's just changing a little section on it. You know, there are worse records that have taken a lot longer.
And it would seem to me that after the success of Pyromania, taking a while to do a CD and getting that kind of success would inspire you to
well,
take time
that's basically the big problem that we have is, like, you know, the success came from actually being very meticulous. And, you know, I think we understand that our role in life is to make this kind of record now. We did deviate a little bit with the Slang album. We tried to do more of a kind of a live, spontaneous kind of thing, but I don't know, it alienated too many people. A lot of people liked it, but not enough to buy it, you know, or the critics like it, but they always get a free copy, you know, and that it's you're kind of banging your head against the wall. We just made a classic Def Leppard record, and part of the process is just time.
Thanks for the call, Mark. We're going to go to Central California, San Luis Obispo. It's Jay's turn. Hi, Jay.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Hey, Jay. Good.
Just wondering, were there any other titles you considered for Euphoria?
Vivian Campbell presents.
Joe Elliot sings the blues.
Euphoria never took this long before.
Yeah. We were considering just calling it Def Leppard, because it, you know, it did sum up our sound, but it, you know, it didn't really go down too well with a bunch of people that we tried it on, and it is a little bland to call an album Def Leppard, you know.
But having said that, we'll probably call the next one Def
Leppard, yeah, right.
So we saved the blandisms for the next decade, you know, for the zeros.
Now,
but you know, it was either Def Leppard and Euphoria was a major suggestion at one stage. It got elbowed because there was a dance record in England came out called Euphoria, but once that had gone away, been deleted, and nobody remembered it anymore, it didn't seem like a consideration.
Joe, I'm going to have you set this up. This is the only song where you started with a title and wrote the song around the title. Set this song up for us here.
Ah, yeah. Do you want to talk about it or just introduce it?
Whatever you want to do. We're going to play it, and I'll let you introduce it.
Well, this is the only song that we've ever actually done where the title came before the song, because we normally write music, then lyrics and melodies. But I had written this little thing down, and I looked at it with my eyes, closed my eyes and just saw it. I imagined it on the back of a sleeve and thought, this will look amazing on the sleeve. And it does, and I think it's a great song. 21st Century Sha-La-La-La Girl.
21st Century Sha-La-La-La Girl. Def Leppard from Euphoria for you on Rockline, and Bob Coburn. We continue with Viv, Sav, and Joe from the band, and a call from Kansas City, Missouri. Rick, you're on Rockline.
Yes, I was interested in the 10th track, and I was wondering why you didn't add any words to that track, and the reason they came up with that.
Phil Collins.
Oh, that would be the instrumental song.
Oh, right. Disintegrate, yeah.
Well, it was an instrumental. It was never intended to have any words on it. The whole idea of it was just to break it up a little bit. You know, we had this acoustic thing which was called Underneath the Spanish Sky, which the main melody was the same melody that's in Disintegrate, and it was going to be just a tag on at the end of the song. But having had Goodbye and Vivian's song To Be Alive on the album, and Guilty, which I suppose not really a ballad, but it's slow-ish, we didn't really want to go with this this other slow acoustic thing. So somebody suggested to us that we speed it up at the end and go into like a rock version of it. So we basically just took that section and used that alone, and didn't use the song. But it was written, once we actually moved into that mode, it was actually written as an instrumental.
Intended as an instrumental right from the beginning. I like the way that it segues into Guilty on the CD.
It would have been a lot easier for me to just say I went to the kitchen to make the coffee at the time that we wrote that song, you know, because we did it in 3 minutes, you know. But,
I've never done it 3 minutes. Dream on.
And can't even get a cup of coffee in 3 minutes. Come to think of it.
Not even instant coffee. That takes 3 months.
So there you go, Rick. Thank you. Harrisburg, here we come. It's Matt on Rockline. Matt, you're on with Def Leppard.
Yeah, hey guys. Just wondered what persuaded you to allow the opening of Rock of Ages to be used by someone else.
The Offspring.
Well, basically, they phoned us up and asked us if they could sample it, and we just thought it was like very cool that they even bothered to ask, because there's been so many sampling, thefts over the last 10 years or so. The fact they phoned up and said, look, we want to sample the beginning of Rock of Ages on, which turned out to be pretty fly for a white guy. We didn't know what it was, because when they asked us, it was 6 months before it came out. And they were offering to pay, and they asked, and we were like, yeah, that's, and we like Offspring, We in Japan we had many a fine evening.
Oh yes.
In Gas Panic, dancing to Come Out and Play.
Yeah.
You gotta keep them separated. I think somebody spiked our drinks when we were in Japan. But we liked Offspring, and we thought it was cool, and we just thought, yeah, well, why not?
And the check cleared and everything, so
yeah, the check cleared. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
And in fairness, without wanting a brown nose and keep some kind of reputation going here, it's a great song. So it was nice when it got to number 1 in Britain, when they did the chart rundown. They said, ladies and gentlemen, the number 1 this week is, and the first thing you hear is Guns N' Glover. It's like, we're kind of number 1 a bit, So we're like guesting on the number 1 song.
Have you enjoyed watching their success with the song? I mean, has it been kind of a kick?
Well, it was, it's interesting to see how well it did. I mean, in fairness, I think it would have done it without that on the front, but the fact that they did that, just didn't do us any harm, and certainly didn't do them any harm.
I think it's time to get rocked. Def Leppard on Rockline.
Do we want to get rocked?
Yeah, and we always want to get rocked on Rockline. Def Leppard, my guest tonight. I'm Bob Coburn. Your number's toll-free, 1-800-344-ROCK. And a reminder, everybody gets on the air tonight gets a copy of Euphoria, courtesy of our best friends this week anyway at Mercury Records. More in a second with Def Leppard.
You're listening to Ohio's best rock, QFM 96.
And welcome back to Rockline. I'm Bob Coburn with Def Leppard, Joe Elliot, Rick Savage, Vivian Campbell. The band will be beginning their tour this Friday night in Wisconsin, and we have a call from the Milwaukee area. It's Joanna. Welcome to Rockline.
Hi, thanks. I love you guys, and my favorite song on the album right now is To Be Alive. And my question was, when you guys are writing a song and you get stuck, what do you do to expand on the song?
Well, Vivian, you wrote that. Did you get stuck? And
I did. You know what I did? I called a friend and he helped me finish it. I'll give you his number if you want. He's very good that way. Actually, I did. I literally, got to the stage of that song where I thought this could be a great song, and I'm really sort of stuck with this. And that's what to sort of go back to what I said earlier about bands going in and playing in a room and sort of creating songs together. I mean, I do actually miss that the fact that Def Leppard doesn't do that, because you can get a lot of spontaneous energy that goes on when you actually bounce off other musicians in a live environment. And I have a very talented friend here who lives here in LA. He's actually from Dublin. His name is PJ Smith, and he helped me finish that song. And he literally, he came over one day and I said, look, I got the song, I'm stuck with it. And he said, oh, you want to do this? I said, well, there you go.
Yeah, there's the answer right there.
And he and I write a lot of songs, and we write them exactly that way. And it's sort of the antithesis of I can almost say that word, antithesis of Def Leppard. And it's sort of it's a balance for me, because it is very, very much the opposite of Def Leppard. And Def Leppard is a very methodical band, and at the same time, there's a part of me that likes to try and be spontaneous. So I do.
We try and be spontaneous. We're just not very good at it.
I thought you were going to say you tried to call Mutt Lange or his wife Shania. Is it help from that angle?
Well, yeah, I'd love to call her, yeah, but I don't know what Mutt would think about that.
Now, you guys did use
us again.
You used Mutt for 3 songs, just kind of co-writing on this.
Yeah.
Do you call him at home, and does she answer the phone, or do you get?
No, she was actually out on tour.
She has a apron on, yeah.
The only reason you've got us on this show is to talk about her, right?
Oh yeah, I have such an ulterior motive in doing all this. Yeah.
I phoned him and she answered the phone, and I said, it's Joe from Def Leppard, and she said, that don't impress me much.
Joanna, thanks. It said to Philadelphia, we have Lisa on. Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi. I just want to let you guys know that I love you, and you're my old-time favorite group.
Thank you very much.
My question is there any country you did not tour? And if they're, out of all the countries you toured, which is your favorite to tour?
Well, there's lots of countries who've never toured. We've never done Russia, Poland, China.
A lot of the Eastern Bloc countries we've never really gone into.
We broke a few last time. We went into like we went into the well, no, it wasn't Yugoslavia. It was we went to the Czech Republic and Slovakia.
Yeah, that was
the first time.
Groundbreaking by our standards.
And we also went to Kuala Lumpur, and we did a lot of South America that we'd never done before, like Argentina, Brazil, Panama.
Yeah. But you know what? Wherever you are, audiences are pretty much alike. You know, I mean, obviously they're slightly better than others, but generally speaking, they all do the same things, and they all react the same sort of way. You know, no matter where you are, unless you're in Belgium.
Except for in Belgium.
we ain't the most popular band in Belgium. But seriously, I mean, you know, we've had some great times in America and Canada for that matter. I mean, and those North America will always feel like home to us on a tour in front, because we've had the best times there. But, you know, we've had some great gigs in England, we've done great gigs in Australia, and even South Africa and South America.
Yeah,
so
South Africa was amazing. 50,000 people in Johannesburg, and we couldn't believe it, you know.
Now, were I in Kuala Lumpur and you guys came, I'd be really happy too, you know, I gotta admit. You know.
Japan, you know.
Go, you know.
We got to play the legendary Budokan.
Oh, really?
Which we thought was called the Budokan when we were growing up. There's certain audiences are louder than others.
What's the story
the Belgians, they suck.
Sorry if there's any Belgians listening.
Are we on in Belgium? We're not on in Belgium, are we? No. Okay. Yeah, they really suck. I've heard that about the Belgian
audiences. You go on stage in Belgium, and it's not as if we're not that... I mean, we might be playing in front of 4,000 people, but they stand there as though they're watching a cinema, you know, a movie in a cinema. Arms folded, just looking, and the way that maybe a real bad support band goes down, that's how they are. But it's not just us. Everybody I've ever spoke to says the same thing. It's just, you know, it's a gig on the way home. That's what it is. It's a rehearsal for the holidays.
The way home. We're going to play a song off Euphoria right now, Paper Sun, that's one of my favorites. Sounds a little Zeppelin-esque to me. Would you guys agree with that? Yeah.
Well, it's got that groove thing. It's that typical Leppard kind of epic sound.
Oh, it's a Leppard song all the way,
It's probably, within the band members, it's probably the favourite track on the album, because I think it encompasses everything that Def Leppard's ever tried to be about, and got with the weird chord changes, vocals, great guitar solos, the whole bit.
And here we are. Paper Sun, Def Leppard from Euphoria. We'll return with the band in just a moment on Rockline on the AM/FM network.
This is Ohio's best rock. QFM 96.
Yeah, welcome back to Rockline. We're still rolling. We got Def Leppard with us tonight. I'm Bob Coburn. We have Joe Elliot, Rick Savage, and Vivian Campbell, and time for a couple of wrap-up questions from me. Out of curiosity, what defines success for you guys? Is it the creativity, the amount of albums sold, the response you get from others, combination of all the above?
Yeah, I guess it is a combination of all above, you know. We'd be lying if we said it wasn't, you know, the amount of records you sell, because if you do sell records, it's not the money that they bring in, it's the fact that there is a lot of people buying them, and that is what success is more people buying your record than somebody else's record, you know. I think at this stage of our career, the fact that we're actually still able to do it, and we still feel that we're valid, and we're being told more and more that we are still valid, and it's showing through on the airplay that we're getting, on the record sales we're getting, and there's a credibility that's kind of come back to us that was in danger of maybe disappearing 3 or 4 years ago.
And having had so much success and so many good albums over the years, how do you pick what goes into the live set and what stays out? There's so many good songs to choose from. You just throw it to Vivian and have him do it in about 30 seconds with his stage time. Yeah.
I don't go there. I don't get involved in set lists. Sorry.
Sav, what do you do?
It is a tough one, because, you know, you're always torn between, you know that a certain amount of the crowd will want to hear a certain, shall we say, hit record from the past or whatever. You know, and you're always wanting to play newer stuff as well, because that's where we're at right now. So it's always a bit of a balance, and you don't want to play too many new songs too early in a tour till the album's got been more developed or what have you. So yeah, at the end of the day, you've got to go with more what the audience want to hear. easily as much as what you want to play, which basically comes back to recreating the Vault CD and throwing some new ones in at the same time.
That's a good way to put it. I want to thank everybody for calling and for listening tonight. Thanks to Sue Tropio at Q Prime, Scott Douglas at Mercury Records, and to Joe Elliott, Rick Savage, and Vivian Campbell. Nice to see all three
Hey,
of
it's
you.
our pleasure. Thanks.
Good luck on the upcoming tour. You're going to be out, what, about a year?
We hope so.
Who knows?
Stop back in the Southern California area. We'll have you on again, okay?
You
Love
got it.
to.
We'd
Good to
love
see all
to.
of you. I'm
Thanks.
BC, and I'll be seeing you.
You've been listening to another fabulously entertaining and award-winning episode of Rockline. Rockline is brought to you by the United States Army. Be all you can be. Did we mention Rockline was award-winning? The superior sound of Rockline was made possible in part by Tello Zephyr, Mackie Mixers, and Sennheiser mics. Sennheiser, microphones, headphones, wireless products. Sennheiser, the sound that moves the world. Thanks to Dee Dee, Felicia, Steve, Carrie, and Scott for their studio assistance. Rockline is engineered by Jimmy Rash. Technical direction by Greg Jernigan. Associate producer Catherine Turman. Rockline is produced by Dominic Griffin. Executive producer Howard Gilman. Rockline is an exclusive presentation of the AM/FM radio network.